We're here at the Tilley-Jane Sno-Park Mount Hood National Forest, Oregon. And are we in for a treat today, my friends? We're doing the world famous Tilley-Jane ski trail number 643. This will take us up to Tilley-Jane log cabin A-frame shelter. Also to the guard station, Tilley-Jane Campground. If conditions permit, we'll even go up to Cloud Cap Saddle Campground, Cloud Cap Inn. And I'm actually really hoping if Timberline Trail is clear, we could potentially even go all the way up to Cooper Shelter, Cooper Spur, but we will see if conditions permit for that. Let's go get our hiking on. So today is January 30th, 2026, and kind of interesting conditions. I checked AllTrails and it looks like a party just did this a couple days ago, and they definitely recommended YakTrax, which is actually my preferred foot traction device. I'd much rather do YakTrax over snowshoes or skis. So as soon as I saw that, I bumped this to the top of my list and thought this is an ideal set of conditions. Come up and do Tilley-Jane ski trail. Cool little bridge here. I'm sure different times of year the water floweth underneath this, but being winter right now, it is essentially dry. Definitely in classic, quintessential Mount Hood National Forest. Old growth wonder of the world. Some interesting planks. This area seems to get a little muddy. I always find this first part of Tilley-Jane Trail to be interesting. All these logs, almost like a bridge, kind of over a muddy section of forest that has a tendency to get a little water saturation. Now we're back to the ice. Here is why you need your YakTrax, my friend. This is sheer sheen sheet of ice. Do not want to do this without foot traction devices. That would be foolhardy and dangerous. This first section is kind of weird. It's a weird mix of these little mini log bridges over little swampy frozen sections. Kind of eclectic and interesting. Now we're back to the proper forest. Here's the direction we just came from. I love this moss and these old growth forest trees. The droopiness definitely sets a vibe. And this is definitely an ascension. We are already going up. So the trailhead at Tilley-Jane Sno-Park, Tilley-Jane Trailhead is about 3,800 feet. So we have 3 potential hiking itineraries, short, medium, long. Part of it will be based on the conditions on the ground. You never really know until you're on the trail. Part of it's also how you're feeling, how you're doing on the hike. Give yourself room, and I think the contingency planning is frankly part of the fun. I know, hard to imagine, but I'm a little OCD, so I enjoy pulling up AllTrails and going through different scenarios before I do a hike. Part of my research review. So, short version is Tilley-Jane Trailhead to just the A-frame log cabin shelter. That's kind of our minimum goal today. If we do that, it is 5.2 mile round trip, about 1,900 foot elevation gain. Not bad. The 5.2 miles is pretty easy. 1,900 foot elevation gain is definitely the harder of the two in the short version. Now, if we want to do the medium version, if the path beyond Tilley-Jane A-frame isn't obstructed, we'll try to go by the guard station and then Cloud Cap Saddle Campground, ultimately Cloud Cap Inn. That's the medium version. That bumps it from 5 miles to 7.2 miles. Only adds a couple hundred feet. Goes from 1,900 feet to 2,100 feet. So if you've already invested the elevation gain to get up to Tilley-Jane A-frame, you're really not adding much elevation gain to go over to Cloud Cap Inn. So I would always recommend, if the path is clear, if there's not too much of a snow bank, snow block, I would virtually always recommend to people to add the Cloud Cap Inn component. Adds 2.2 miles and 200 feet elevation gain. And that's net, and that's not each way. So that's the medium version. The long version, knock on wood, is then turning south and getting on Timberline Trail. Now this is a big asterisk. If it's clear, chances are it's not clear, but you never know what ski patrol's doing up there. Maybe it is clear, maybe it's a light snow season. If the conditions are like this, heck yeah, I'm gonna do it. Essentially go south on Timberline Trail to the Cooper Spur shelter, a stone shelter kind of at the base of beautiful Mount Hood. But that's really where you start to increase. You go from 7.2 mile round trip to 9.8, so it adds 2.6. That part's okay. The tougher part is the elevation gain you add there. Goes from 2,100 to 3,000. So definitely got to be feeling good and have good conditions to add that, because 3,000 feet is a lot, particularly in winter on YakTrax. Doable if you're a seasoned wilderness adventurer. It's not anything that's too crazy, but definitely a full day hike and you'll feel it the next day. So short option to Tilly Jane A-frame, 5 mile, 1,900 feet elevation gain. Medium option to Cloud Cap Inn, 7.2 mile, 2,100 feet elevation gain. Long option to Cooper Spur Shelter, 9.8 mile and 3,000 foot elevation gain. So plan ABC, depending on conditions and how we're doing. I did bring a lot of snacks. I got 2 sugar-free Powerades. I have a bunch of Quest peanut butter cups and coated candies, protein bursts. So I'm well appointed snack-wise, beverage-wise. Had a big hearty protein breakfast. Gorged myself on fluids on the way here, which is my standard protocol. So I am starting the hike satiated and hydrated. So I always recommend you do that. So it'll be exciting to see conditions up here at the mountain, and we will make our plan accordingly. So far, this is ideal conditions. This is great. I can't explain how helpful it was. I read a trail report from earlier this week from, I think, a group of 5 people that came up, and they recommended YakTrax. Sounded like skis and snowshoes were not recommended or necessary. I almost never like to deploy skis on these anyway. To me, that's more of a Virginia Meissner situation, maybe a Maiden Peak situation, but not a Tilly Jane situation. So, but YakTrax, that's really what lets you do the longer hike. I wouldn't even try to go up to Cooper Spur in snowshoes, to be clear. I think 9.8 miles and 3,000 feet, way too aggressive in snowshoes. Your exertion burn rate way higher in snowshoes than YakTrax. So even in YakTrax, that's going to be a bit of a hike. On snowshoes, I wouldn't even try it. My humble opinion. Oh man, this is gorgeous. So I came from Central Oregon, from the Madras area. The drive was perfectly clear. Today, January 30th, 2026. Really the only area that had some snow on the road was the Cloud Cap Road, the last couple miles before Tilly Jane Sno-Park. There's a couple of patches of ice, but I just raised the suspension on my Jeep Wagoneer and just went 50 miles per hour, and I didn't get any slippage. Felt totally safe. Also have winter snow tires, traction control, so no problem there. Got here perfectly safely. Never felt like I was doing anything sketch. And I was the second car in the parking lot. I don't know if that means somebody else is on this trail, or if they're an overnighter at Tilly Jane A-frame or Tilly Jane Guard Station. So it's interesting. You can go to recreation.gov and get a reservation to stay at Tilly Jane A-frame. It appears from my research, minimum of 2 people, $20 per, so 40 total per night. Or if you're feeling wild and crazy, more of a group situation, you can do the Tilly Jane Guard Station That's more like renting out a cabin for a big group. It's $200 a night. So $40 for two people for A-frame, or $200 for a big group for the guard station. So I think you get the entire guard station like you are renting your own private cabin. So if you got a big group of people, that could actually be really fun. Everybody YakTrax, microspikes up and has a nice weekend. That could be pretty awesome, actually. So a lot of times people are looking for interesting excursions with groups of friends, and frankly, I can't think of a better one in this Mount Hood area than getting 5, 6, 7 people. I don't know what the limit for how many people they let up there, but find that limit, 6, 8 people, whatever, divide the 200 by that many people, everybody ponies up 20, 30, 40 bucks, whatever it is, go up there and have a big party. That sounds pretty sick. I would recommend doing something like that. Easiest game of limbo in the world. Barely have to duck. And I did it. I'm amazing. This is really beautiful. Trail is like perfectly matted down. It's icy, but the YakTrax or microspecs, you don't even notice the ice. So it's actually very comfortable to hike on. Pretty idyllic. Make no mistake, this is a uphill slog. So from the moment you get on the trailhead, you are going up, my friend. And I can tell with every step, pretty much gaining elevation. So slow and steady wins the race. It is a marathon, not a sprint. Because it's not like there's just one little uphill, you get to the top of it and you're done. Like, it's a sustained uphill. This is my second time ever doing Tilly Jane Trail. Got a full video of a summer hike I did in June of 2022. Now here it is in January of 26, 3.5 years later or so. And I'm doing the winter version. I do view this as more of a winter area than a summer area, so excited to see the winter side of it. Okay, so I will point out the brown sign says Tilly Jane 2 miles, but then the blue sign says Tilly Jane Trail 2.5 miles to Tilly Jane Cabin. It says Tilly Jane Sno-Park most difficult. Sign on the left tree here says most difficult. That I can attest to. They said it's 1,900 feet from trailhead to A-frame log cabin shelter. 2,100 feet elevation gain from trailhead to Cloud Cap Inn. So definitely makes it most difficult. It's definitely easier in YakTrax and Snowshoes, but no matter what, because of all that uphill, it's a challenge. You ever have that phenomenon if you're like at Oregon Beach or any beach, walking on the sand, get that little resistance where it kind of pushes you back? I feel like you got to churn harder just to keep your forward momentum. That's what it's like hiking in snow, whether you got YakTrax or Snowshoes. So because of that, your burn quotient is just higher in a winter hike than a summer hike on the fresh, straight dirt. So you never really have the full capacity of hiking distance in winter than you do in summer. I always typically say 80, 85, 90% maybe. That might be overly optimistic, but that's the capacity in winter you have versus summer. So, of course, the elevation here is the killer. Okay, this is just straight ice. If you were just boot packing this, you literally wouldn't be able to walk up this. You would be on all fours, my friend. Oh, this feels good. I'm gonna go nice and slow. I'm a big believer in breath control. You never want to redline, I call it, where you feel like you're behind your breath. You don't feel like you're controlling your breath. That's when you start kind of getting that fight or flight feeling, and it becomes unfun real quick. So you're always better off slowing down on the throttle, easing up on the throttle, going slower, maintaining your breath, letting it take longer. Then you kind of stay in the right headspace, keep it fun, and make good decisions. So as you're ascending to Jane, if you start redlining or triggering your own fight or flight, this is too arduous, then ease off the throttle and you'll feel better quickly. So that's one of the other reasons I came here bright and early, right here in the 9 o'clock hour. Late 8s, early 9, so that give myself all day. I'd rather go slower. I also think it's a design mistake to look at the day and be like, okay, that hike's gonna take me 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. And then at 1 o'clock, I'm gonna do this, and 2 o'clock, I'm gonna do this. And you try to build out your whole day, then you feel under the gun the entire hike. You got some sort of schedule to maintain. If you're doing that, frankly, my friend, I think you're doing it wrong. I think you're much better off clearing your schedule, letting yourself go slow, take as long as it takes. You'll figure out what you're gonna do later in the day on the back end. You don't know how fast or slow it's gonna be. You can't necessarily control it. So clear your schedule, let it take as long as it takes. That's how you'll get the most rewarding experience. My unsolicited 2 cents humble opinion. This is a pretty sustained uphill, but I'm rambling and hiking and doing just A-okay. Like Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. I'm A-frame okay. So having done this before, this first section is what I would always refer to as the cost of doing business section. It's a pretty section of old growth forest, but it's kind of the must-do section once you get up to the opening in Mount Hood National Forest, which I think might be straight ahead through that little clearing. Once you get up there, then the views of Mount Hood open up. You get to come hither from the mountain, and you get that positive reward reinforcement system of getting beautiful mountain views while you're hiking, which makes you more excited and keeps your momentum and adrenaline going. So this is, frankly, always the worst part, the lower forest section, to get you to the clearing where you get the mountain views. So understand this is just the put your head down, grin and bear it section. Get through this efficiently. You get up to the mountain view money section, the payoff section. I will say one of the cool things about Tilly Jane Trail is it's got a nice long sustained mountain view section. Not a peekaboo situation. It's not one of those where you just get one little clearing. I hate those hikes. There's a lot of hikes around that, like that, where you look at the brochure, you know, the AllTrails entry, and it's like money shot of a mountain, angels singing, and you're like, oh, I want to go there. And you get on the trail, and you find out that 90% of it's a slog, and that one little money section is like a dangled carrot. Some places it could just be like literally one angle, like one 10 by 10 cell that has that view, and you're like, geez, I feel a little bait and switched. Well, Tilly Jane is not that. Once we get up past this lower forest old growth section, get to the clearing, the angels will start singing. And they'll sing for miles. It's a long, sustained hike, ascending mountain terrain, Mount Hood views, entire hike, all the way up to the shelter. So that's a good thing about Tilly Jane. No bait and switch, my friend. With the sun beaming through these old growth trees, we are officially entering the angel singing section. And look at the beauty of Mount Hood right there. We're gonna get much better views each step from here on out. Frankly, the views just get better. But you ascend basically a pretty steep lower forest slog, with a pretty sharp elevation grade. And then you come up here and all of a sudden you see this little section of cat's tail. You can sense that you're entering a different quadrant, different ecosystem of Mount Hood National Forest. You got your burnout to the left here, the other side of this cluster of trees, and suddenly the world is your oyster. Look at this. I mean, this is brochure worthy right here. Beautiful shots of our close trusty friend Mount Hood. And the next mile plus is just different versions of this, different angles, where you got mighty Mount Hood in all its majestic splendor, setting our frame in the background. And then Tilly Jane ski trail just meanders at different angles. Sometimes Hood's on the right, sometimes on the left, but always in the background. So this is what is special about Tilly Jane A-frame, log cabin hike, Tilly Jane trail, getting money shots of Mount Hood all along the way. Ooh, hello sun. Perfect timing. Here's where we came from. As if on cue, it just brightened up right while I'm standing here. And it is lighting up beautiful Mount Hood National Forest. Not surprising, you see a lot of pines here. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, look at that. You got gray clouds, ominous clouds, and the sun just lighting up this Mount Hood National Forest, twinkling green pines. Starting to say, it's not surprising you see a lot of pines in a burnout area like this. Typically a fire will come through, burn out the old growth, and then pines are kind of the most hardy. They have a tendency to repopulate the burnout zones. So, is that post hole? So, typically whenever you see a burnout zone, you're gonna see pines capture it. Oh, look at that. Look at the majesty, the beauty, the splendor. Sun lighting up Mount Hood National Forest. Here's the trail we're hiking from. Here's the sun. Here's our bright green pine trees, burnout zone, Mount Hood National Forest. There's Mount Hood, setting the frame in the background. Got my YakTrax Summit deployed. I would not recommend skis or snowshoes. I think it is overkill. Remember, you're going up 1,900 feet to the A-frame log cabin shelter, 2,100 feet if you're going up to Cloud Cap Inn, 3,000 feet if you're crazy and going up to Cooper Spur Shelter. So you don't want to be in clunky snowshoes if you can avoid it. If you are a avid wilderness adventurer, a lover of nature, a true believer like myself, that is why I bother to come up here and also why I make videos, then these type of alignments where you got the sun, gray ominous clouds, morning rays, shards of light, just giving this area a glow, majestic light. This is beautiful. Look at that. All the sun, the shards of light lighting up Mount Hood National Forest. This is epic, my friend. This is really epic. I am digging this. And I'm very happy with the alignment of conditions I'm getting. I will say sometimes you can, if you're a overly OCD, fastidious planner like myself, you can almost kind of overplan and get too worried about scenarios. I've been avoiding doing this because I've been worried about rain and freezing and ice and freezing rain, but today I just decided the conditions were good and I went for it, and now that I'm here, I'm glad I did. So it's good to be cautious of road conditions and safety, because that's the most important thing, but don't overplan, my friend. Sometimes you gotta just go for it. Oh, look at that. Look at the sun. The sun is lighting up. Beautiful Mount Hood National Forest. There's the direction we are ascending from. Here is the direction we are ascending up. Ascending through a beautiful burnout zone. This is Mount Hood National Forest. We are not in Mount Hood Wilderness yet. Mount Hood Wilderness is well beyond Tilly Jane A-frame shelter. If you go up to the Cloud Cap Inn, even that's still in Mount Hood National Forest. You don't get to Mount Hood Wilderness till you go up Timberline Trail, going south towards Cooper Spur Shelter. You go a few tenths down the Timberline Trail, the opposite side of Cloud Cap Inn. That is when you officially enter Mount Hood Wilderness. So this is still Mount Hood National Forest, even though it kind of has that wilderness vibe. I think the ski trail part of it, a little bit of a misnomer. At the actual trail sign, it says ski trail, and kind of implies this is mainly for skiing, and I actually think it's more of a micro spikes trail. Maybe snowshoes, depending on the snow level, but it's a YakTrax / micro spikes / snowshoe zone. I think the ski trail moniker is actually a little misleading. So I think you come up here with like cross-country skis, like you think you're at Virginia Meissner or Maiden Peak, I think you're not going to have the experience you think you're going to have, my humble opinion. So I would not call this Tilly Jane Ski Trail. I just call it Tilly Jane Trail. Winter adventuring for micro spikes and snowshoes. Slow and steady wins the race, my friend. I'm in the YakTrax Summit. Aptly named, considering I'm going up to a mountain today on my way mid-route, and I am not in any hot hurry. I want to keep my breath. Slow and steady wins the race, my friend. Slow and steady. I am post-holing a little bit. The whole lower section was just pure ice. This is definitely the most exposed, thickest snow section, but I still would rather be in YakTrax. And go slow, you're fine. Gonna interest you in an epic sky battle. Got the beautiful sun over the ominous gray clouds. Look over there, how ominous these dark gray clouds are. The sun is winning, my friend. We root for the sun, casting its mighty glow. Shards of light across Mount Hood National Forest, lighting up these pine trees in this burnout zone and really making this trail come to life. This bright white pop like marshmallows. Very beautiful. So got lucky in my timing. I started this around 9 and I'm slowly ascending to maintain my energy, and the alignment of coming around 9 a.m. in January seems to be working for me. This area is lighting up at just the right time, giving a bit of a glow. Gives me nice morning light, panoramic perspectives. I'm also a big believer that when the sun's at this orientation, it kind of gives you a different perspective of the whole area. Got the whole area kind of lighting up differently. Later in the day, when the sun's at full due north up in the sky, then it just doesn't have the same effect. Like, it's still pretty, but it's just bright sunshine. I like the sideway shards of light, kind of gives a different vibe to the area. So it's the little things, man. If you do a lot of hiking like I do, wilderness adventuring, then the morning shards of light, I call it, ends up being a feature of your hike. If you're a fastidious wilderness adventurer, you typically start in the morning. So this is always something I look forward to, is how's the light going to hit the area as I'm ascending? Just the typical scenario. So I'm not disappointed. Look at that. That is beautiful. That is really beautiful. There's our trail we are ascending. It's actually pretty steep, but if you take a slow and steady wins the race mentality, actually not that bad. I'm not even really out of breath. So I'm going nice and slow. I am not redlining. Keep your breath. Pull back on the throttle a little bit. Ease up on the throttle if you start getting a little exhausted. Far better to control your breath, keep your wits, and not trigger your fight or flight. Gives you cortisol, makes you stressed, makes you not enjoy the hike. You go slower, take micro steps, take your time. Life is a journey, not a destination. Have a way more rewarding experience. I don't really care how long this hike takes me. I just want to enjoy every single step. Look at how beautiful this is. And we got the sun over here, like epic. Look at that. Sun is lighting up this mountainside that we are ascending up Mount Hood National Forest towards our close trusty friend, beautiful Mount Hood, tallest mountain in the great state of Oregon, 11,249 feet. As we ascend Tilly Jane Trail up to Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter, which is our Waypoint 1 for today's festivities. Look back at the trail we are ascending. As I said, we're going up, my friend. Look up at beautiful sun, dark ominous gray clouds, bright white marshmallow mountainside we are ascending. See how immaculate and gorgeous, pristine this snow is. We are going slow and steady wins the race. These are definitely the hardest sections with YakTrax because it is a little thicker because it's fully exposed. But that said, just go kind of slow. And I'm really not post-holing much. Post-hole a few times, but never more than ankle deep. Oh, look at that. Look at the sun. It's interesting, these ominous clouds. See if rain is coming later or not. Big step. Look at this. This is beautiful. And then while I'm excited about the morning sunrise with the dark gray ominous clouds, don't want to bury the lead. Look at that straight ahead, my friend. That is the feature of this hike. Mount Hood summit, Mount Hood proper in all its majestic splendor. Look at that. So I just got up this steep section, look down on Tilly Jane Trail, look over at our sun and the light. It's got a marshmallow vibe, I would best describe it. I feel like I'm just in this bright white wonderland right now. And now we're to a much flatter section, perfect for YakTrax. And we are just staring at beautiful Mount Hood. Like, this is pure magic, my friend. Pure, epic, majestic, alpine magic. Look at that. That is gorgeous. That, my friend, is gorgeous. This is legit, my friend. And it was just grass. And I got the perspective, the summer perspective, ascending up to Mount Hood proper. And I gotta say though, I think Tilly Jane is best experienced as a winter adventure. There is a reason why it's called Tilly Jane Ski Trail. So even though, as I said, I think ski is a misnomer, I think it's more of a YakTrax snowshoe trail, not really a cross-country ski trail. Splitting hairs, but the point is this is a winter adventure because this is a majestic wonderland. Look at that. You got the sun peeking over our mountainside. This is definitely the thickest section I've experienced since the trailhead. Not surprising. Very exposed. Got the sun right there. This rock in the foreground. A couple burnout trees. Now I'm going up a pretty steep section of exposed thick snow. Still not too difficult in YakTrax. Just being more deliberate with my steps and gingerly, and it's really not that big of a deal. Can't get enough of the sun. I'm telling you, the sun lighting up this area is special because in an hour or two that sun will be up in its normal orientation for the day and we'll lose this glow that's making the snow sparkle. I don't know if the diamonds are coming through, but it's that diamond snow effect where every sparkle of the snow is lighting up because of the sideways shards of light, and it's pretty freaking gorgeous, dude. I'm digging this. So I want to capture this as much as possible. I'm almost focusing more on the sun lighting up the trail than I am our friend Mount Hood. I don't know who to focus on more, the mountain or the sun, but Both unbelievably gorgeous. Look at this. Look at this. Can I interest you in an Alpine Wonderland, my friend? This is majestic. The sun lighting up this Wonderland zone. And now we're back to another flat section. Really, the handful of hillsides are really the worst areas as far as thickness of the snow, where you're at the stretch limits of the YakTrax, but still not too bad as far as post holing. YakTrax are definitely the way to go for this trail. I would not do snowshoes, my humble opinion, my friend, but you do you. Oh, look at this. Look at this. A majestic Wonderland. I have done this once before. As I said, it was 3.5 years ago, June of 22. Now it's January 26, so I do remember the trail. I do feel like we are making good time and good progress. I'm not saying we're imminently about to get to the log cabin A-frame shelter, because that's still a bit, but we are making good progress. We look back, look at the fog. Oh, look at that. You got an ethereal fog effect behind us and the rolling mountains and hills on the other side of this trail. And then you look up and you see majestic, mighty Mount Hood in all its alpine wonder and glory. The bright white pop marshmallow madness that is Mount Hood, majestic and mighty. Think of any other words with M in it. This is absolutely amazing. There's another M. Oh man. Another one of these steep ascensions with the sun lighting it up as we walk across the diamonds. Very beautiful. Once we get up here to the right, then we'll kind of level out a little bit. Have more of a flat, straight shot to the mountain. So there's our mountain, kind of obstructed by some burnout, but as we come around here to the corner to the right, I think we'll get a more direct shot. Mount Hood. So I ascend this section. I focus more on the sun and the sky and the glisten on the snow. Oh, look back. I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. You see the clouds in the fog? Like, this is really beautiful. This is a majestic Wonderland zone. This is what I was hoping for, frankly. Tilly Jane is not disappointing in real time. Tilly Jane is legend and epic. We're coming up here. We're going to straighten out here. Just a straight shot of the mountain. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful sun. And here we are, straightening out. And we just got a direct approach money shot of Mount Hood for a bit. Looks like a few tenths, perhaps. Look back over at the sun. Majestic and mighty, glistening shards of light. We got Mount Hood right here. This is crazy. Can I interest you in a winter wonderland, my friend? If you cannot tell, I am a fan. Darn it, I am a super fan of Mount Hood National Forest. Our close trusty friend, Mount Hood, tallest mountain in the great state of Oregon, 11,249 feet. And we got this light. Look back again. Tilly Jane Trail, sending through our burnout zone. The sun to our left, fighting some dark ominous clouds. There is potentially some rain later in the day forecast. I am cognizant of that. One of the reasons why I started early. I like to be able to do this hike and it'll either at least be on the way down or all the way back before it starts raining. Really, the only sketchy part of the drive is a couple miles down this cloud cap road. Once you get to the main highway, you're golden all the way back to Central Oregon, where I live in Madras. So I feel like conditions are good, safe and clear. Oh, look at how beautiful this is. Look at the beauty. Almost got a sepia effect. Like this brush, this mountainside is like a sepia brown. I do not mess with the colors on my videos, so this isn't like me trying to make an effect. Like here in person, in reality, feels like I'm walking through a sepia painting. It's like a weird brownish golden color and then all the white. It's like a two-tone situation. I think the light, the sun from the left is playing a role in that, obviously. So if you're given sepia vibes through this section, that is not an effect that I've edited. That is just reality, my friends. As I said, other than putting in the color input recommended for my device, I don't really mess with the colors at all. Just maximum saturate everything. But I don't like go in and change the reds, the blues, and the greens. I don't really do anything like that. Just leave it as it is. This is majestic. This is beauty. Oh, look at that. That is majestic. A lot of times the sun and the clouds and the light ends up being the most beautiful part of a hiking video. I've definitely learned and experienced through the hundreds of times I've done this. So I'm focusing on that because that is special. Like, you cannot replicate that. Every day you have a different sunrise, sunset, and you get just a different alignment with the clouds and the light and the gray and the blue and the white and the shards and the way the light hits the mountainside ever so. Different levels of snow and ice, and just, it's always different. It's unique every day. You capture that. Oftentimes, if I go back and happen to watch one of my old videos, some of the things I remember most fondly are just a certain alignment of sunlight hitting an area a certain way that you just get lucky that you stumble upon the area at that right exact time and feel special. So that's what this is. I'm getting that vibe in real time. So we look back on our area and really enjoying Tilly Jane A-frame. We are heading up towards the mountain. I gotta be careful. This is Tilly Jane Trail. The A-frame is the cabin. I always call this the Tilly Jane A-frame hike, but we are not at the A-frame yet, to be clear. Can't get over how beautiful the sun is. Clouds moving so fast beneath it. And then you look back at Tilly Jane Trail, sepia brown hillside. So we continue to ascend towards Mount Hood. Oh, look at that sun. That is so beautiful. I can't get over these shards of light. It's really creating a beautiful glowing effect. Shards of light lighting up this zone. I'm starting to come to this other side of this particular hill that isn't getting as much of the glow of the sun just because of the angle. Just walked through a really long zone where I feel like the snow I was walking on was glowing. Diamond, marshmallow, pure white, pristine, immaculate snow. Kind of a cool effect. Now we're back in the shadows. This is the shadow section. The sun happens to be just lurking that side of the hill. So now this snow just kind of looks dark. Different effect. I love the angle though. Looking up at Mount Hood here, this is pretty darn gorgeous. There's really not a step of this hike that isn't pure magic. This is definitely one of the premium winter adventure hikes in the Mount Hood National Forest area. Highly recommend coming up and doing this Tilly Jane Trail. So here's looking back on Tilly Jane Trail we are hiking on. Kind of a steep little section here. Watch your footing. I mean, this is fine. In my YakTrax summit. Doesn't feel like dangerously sketch. I mean, you could fall down this thing, that wouldn't be fatal, probably wouldn't even be a serious injury if you know how to take a fall right, which I do because I played football back in the day. But just want to be cognizant and see what we got out of that section. And we're being rewarded with the sun yet again, lighting up our hillside. It's Mount Hood National Forest Wonderland Zone. We are ascending beautiful mountainside. Well, hello there, morning sunshine. Thank you for lighting up the path, lighting our way as we ascend up this little steep section. Oh, look at the beauty of the sun lighting up our mountainside. Very comfortable temperature. According to my Jeep Wagoneer, it was 35 degrees when I got here, so cold enough that it's got some bite, but not so cold that it feels like soul crushing. And it's got a pretty good wind. I think the wind has it in the high 20s wind chill, which to me is like a sweet spot. I'm Norwegian by heritage, proud American, but Norwegian by heritage. So Perhaps this kind of stuff's just in my blood, but this is a very comfortable temperature. I'm not sweating, but I'm not hot, I'm not cold. In the Goldilocks zone of temperature management. And I am digging this. I will say, I don't have any sponsorships or endorsements. A very small, humble channel. I am a gear nerd, so I've gotten into Stio a little bit, which has got a store in Bend in Central Oregon area. This is up in Mount Hood, but I live in Central Oregon. So, big fan of the Power Stretch Glide pants, which I'm wearing, and the Power Stretch gloves. So I'm wearing these gloves. Power Stretch keep my hands warm, yet they have that touch feature, so I can still handle my phone, shoot a video. So these are my new gloves of choice, the Stio Power Stretch Glide gloves, and they match my pants. So what's not to love about that? So I'm digging it. I bought the black, the blue, and the gray, all three. So I got my pants and my matching gloves. I'm that kind of a dork, so but it feels good. So moving forward, I'm always gonna wear these gloves. I feel like I've upgraded my kit. Definitely post holing occasionally. Might not be in the best groove. Might be better if I come over here. Looks a little flatter. Yeah, that was maybe an improvement. But again, I would still take a minor amount of post holing in this middle section. Look at the beauty of the sun and these dark gray ominous clouds lighting up our marshmallow mountainside here at the base of mighty majestic Mount Hood. Amazing Alpine wonder of the world. I would say, as far as your foot traction, you're always compensating one way or the other. If you go with the snowshoes, you've got maximum gription for this middle section, but you're unnecessarily churning your energy in the lower and upper sections where it's icy and not very thick. Conversely, if you're doing what I did, which is frankly my preference, you go with the YakTrax Summit, so you have a lower overall burn rate, you can do a farther hike, you will glide like a panther/puma on the icy sections in the bottom and the upper, but this middle exposed section you'll post hole a little bit. So no matter which foot traction choice you make, you're going to be compensating one way or the other because the sections are all a little different. I'm not a fan of bringing multiple. I know some people like to bring snowshoes and micro spikes and like stop and change mid-hike. To me, I would never do that. I feel like that kind of breaks the vibe. I commit to one foot traction device and make the most of it, but you do you. Oh, it's getting even windier. The hood on my jacket keeps wanting to come up. Look back here, look at the fog, the mist in Mountain National Forest, the other side of Tilly Jane Trail. And this light is really beautiful. This is a majestic zone. It's really not an area to look at that's not beautiful. I'm mainly biasly in favor of the sun. And of course, the feature of the area, my majestic mountain straight ahead, the money shot. But it doesn't mean that it's not absolutely epic looking back there. I mean, look at that. As the wind's starting to pick up even more, definitely a dark gray ominous cloud vibe. You got the fog and the mist in the mountains. What's up? This is some serious wind, my friend. The wind gods have activated. The wind gods are angry. It was quite a little bout of wind there for a minute. Felt like I was in a minor tropical storm there for 10 seconds, but just as they huffed and puffed, they have now gone away. Might have been their morning stretch. Look at the sun, that is gorgeous. I can't get enough of the sun. This is a special alignment. Something about the way Tilly Jane Trail happens to be crafted up this mountainside. You got obviously the main feature, your money shot of mighty, majestic, amazing Mount Hood right there. You got the trail and you got the sun, morning, sunrise, shards of light, lighting it up. So this is a particularly majestic alignment, the way this trail is situated with planet Earth, the directionality of the light and the mountain all working together. Little sun. One of the steeper sections we've had post-hole city this time. This is probably going to be the most post-hole-orific section I've done. Definitely looks like the thickest snow. Could you hear that over there? That's kind of crazy. There's like this whistling sound. That's beautiful. Look at that. Look at this area. I can't get over this fog, this mist coming through the mountains. I mean, look at this. This is special. This is majestic. Definitely the most post-hole-orific section so far. This is pretty thick. At least with the way the sun's oriented, I could see every angle. Makes it a little easier, but doesn't make it any less post-hole-orific. Definitely post-holing, but what can you do, right? It's traversable. As the sun lights up beautiful Mount Hood National Forest, look back at the steepest section of the trail so far, Tilly Jane Trail. You also see the rolling hills, the mountains of Mount Hood National Forest, majestic fog and mist filling up the area. We just descended this section, definitely the most post-holy section so far. Nothing you can really do but grit and bear it, grin and bear it, grit and bear it. As we continue along, I like orientating everything towards the sun because it's just so majestic. And speaking of majestic, we got the money shot of mighty, amazing, majestic Mount Hood straight ahead. Look at that. That's a little candle soup for your soul right there, my friend. Gonna interest you in Alpine Wonderland. that is special. So if you feel the wanderlust, if you just feel a beckoning, a yearning to come out to the mountains, I think Tilly Jane Trail to the A-frame log cabin shelter, and even beyond to Cloud Cap Inn, maybe even Cooper Spur Shelter, will definitely scratch that wanderlust itch. Because look at this. I mean, this is pure magic. Like straight money shot to Mount Hood, tallest mountain in the great state of Oregon. This is awesome. Look at this. I'm digging this, my friend. Just a hint of the sun peeking out. We are losing our sky battle. As you can see, the worm is turning, my friend. The clouds are darkening, getting more ominous by the minute. So here is a wilderness adventurer's dilemma I shall share with you in real time. So my plan was to go up to Tilly Jane A-frame, Cloud Cap Inn, and maybe even Cooper Shelter. I did a weather analysis before I came, as you always should. And although rain was somewhat in the forecast, it wasn't supposed to be till like 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon was the first time there was even a risk of rain. I thought it would be possible to do a morning hike and at least do the upper part, the out part, and then maybe be on the back part when it started raining. But the rain's about 6 hours early. It's 10 o'clock and it's starting to rain. This was not the forecast. Best laid plans, right? So now what do? Do I consider myself pot committed and keep going since I am in the final ascension stretch to Tilly Jane A-frame? At least get to Tilly Jane A-frame, maybe go on to Cloud Cap and scrap Cooper Spur? Or do I turn around and leave now? So that is the question. It's definitely getting windier. It's definitely getting rainier. Now let's think about what happens if it rains. It's above freezing, so it shouldn't be ice, it should just be rain. I got YakTrax Summit on. I got food, I got drink, I got phone, I got battery pack, I got GPS, I got everything I need. I got top line clothing. I'm warm. So I have no limitation in my gear. So, not out of stubbornness, but out of a belief that a little bit of rain isn't going to change the equation, I think I shall continue to endeavor forward, my friend. So here's our Tilly Jane Trail, looking up at Mount Hood, starting to be obscured by some rain clouds. And let's take a look at this Mount Hood National Forest base of Tilly Jane Trail. Oh, this is gorgeous. So here's the area we just descended. You can see some fog, some mist on the rolling hills, mountains of Mount Hood National Forest. We got this burnout zone man, this is gorgeous. As we continue along, kind of some weird weather here today. Getting pretty heavy wind. I'm having to yell over the sound of the wind. Starting to get some early rain. Woo! Now that is some wind, my friends. Looking back on Tilly-Jane Trail, here's our beautiful Mount Hood National Forest Basin, Burnout Wonderland, and we are continuing along towards Tilly-Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. It is getting very windy here, starting to get intermittent rain sprinkles. There's the sun. Hillside. I was not expecting this heavy of wind, candidly. This was not forecast. A few times it's actually knocked me over. So, oh, I love that sun. So this is legit wind. A couple times I had to brace my footing because the wind was actually knocking me off where I was standing. So the wind is no joke, my friend. Oh, this is so beautiful. Personally, I'm a fan of a little inclement weather, as long as it doesn't turn dangerous. Looking back on Tilly-Jane Trail, here's our incredible Mount Hood National Forest Basin Burnout Zone. As we continue along, I just plugged in my brick, my power charger of my iPhone, and I just had a trail snack. I had some Quest peanut butter cups. I'll also say I did an AllTrails trip check. We got 5G. I have a T-Mobile. We have 5G up here, so that's great. According to AllTrails, I've gone up 2 miles, and I'm at 5,400 feet. So I've gone up 1,600 feet in 2 miles. I've got 300 or 400 feet more, and about half a mile. So I'm about 80% done with the hike to Tilly-Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. So we will soldier on. Look at these views, my friend. This is gorgeous. This is gorgeous. Sun, that is beautiful. Lighting up this Mount Hood National Forest Wonderland zone. This is gorgeous. I am loving this. You got the sun peeking over this mountainside and the beautiful Mount Hood summit. Here's the Tilly-Jane Trail we just came from. Still have the beautiful sun lighting up our mountainside. We are still approaching Mount Hood proper. As I post hole, we are approaching the A-frame log cabin shelter of Tilly-Jane, and the mountain is giving us a come hither vibe, beckoning us forward. At last trip check, we were now at about 2.1 miles of our 2.5 miles up, about 1,600 of the 1,900 feet. We have about 0.4 miles and about 300 feet left. Beautiful, bright white pop, immaculate, pristine snow as I post hole up this steep little section. The light, my friend, the light is spectacular. This area is majestic. This is precisely what I was hoping for when I embarked upon the Tilly-Jane Trail adventure. So here's our Tilly Jane Trail we just traversed up. Still getting some of that majestic fog, clouds going through the mountains over there. Here's our burnout zone, our trail. Beautiful sun lighting up our mountainside. And there is beautiful Mount Hood, tallest mountain in the great state of Oregon, 9,249 feet, beckoning us to come hither as we continue to ascend towards Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. It is windy AF. I'm having to scream over the sound of the wind. It is beautiful. We're getting a laser light show thanks to the sun. Absolutely beautiful zone. Let's look back at our Tilly Jane A-frame trail. There's some fog off in the distance, rolling Mount Hood National Forest, and still ascending this way towards majestic, mighty Mount Hood. Money shot straight ahead. The sun lighting up majestic Mount Hood National Forest. We got the mighty Mount Hood over there, tallest mountain in the great state of Oregon. All its majestic wonder, the money shot. We pan back, show you Tilly Jane Trail. We are ascending up. We just came up this little section right here, pretty steep zone, and we traversed the left side of that mogul, and you got some ominous clouds and mist going through the mountains here. It is very windy. It is very gorgeous. Can't get enough of that sun. Like, look at this. The light with this great gray ominous clouds moving so fast from right to left. This is majestic. It's pretty windy, my friend. This is real winter wilderness adventuring. These are inclement weather conditions. We got a windstorm, we got rain, we got everything coming out. Still have the sun. I want to point out these clouds behind us. Look at this. This is crazy. This is absolutely gorgeous. I still can't get over the fog, the rolling mist and fog coming through the mountains, and that beautiful cloud formation right there. That is epic. Oh man, it's our sun. And we're just a couple tenths away from the A-frame log cabin shelter, Tilly Jane. Oh, look at the majesty. Look at that light. That is gorgeous. We're in the final last couple tenths before we reach the Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter, our Waypoint 1 for this wilderness adventure. Oh, this is beautiful. I'm gonna stop and do a panorama of this Tilly Jane trail. Look at this. And look at the sun lighting up this beautiful Wonderland zone. We are still ascending towards Mount Hood. We are in the final stretch for Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. Straight ahead. The sun is lighting up. It's wonderful. Definitely getting bouts of a severe windstorm, periods of rain, dark, ominous gray clouds, but nevertheless, it's quite beautiful. I appear to be the only one taking the trail today. Definitely have some inclement weather. I can understand why nobody else wants to be out here. Maybe I'm the only crazy one. I did do an AllTrails trip check a little while ago, and just in the last 10th or two, last 100 or 200 feet, before we get to Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. The sun's finally starting to go behind some gray clouds. The laser light show is temporarily ending, my friend. This is the first time I'm doing it in winter. It's legit. Definitely a better winter hike than a summer hike, in my humble opinion. Let me stop and look back. It's a good summer hike, don't get me wrong, but I think the epicosity is even higher here in winter. This is a majestic Wonderland zone. One of the most premium winter hikes in the entire mountain area, I gotta say. And I do believe that is the shelter straight ahead. That break in the forest. Those two thin trees in the center right there, straight ahead. To the left of that, I think is the shelter. So it'll be nice to be done with this 1,900 foot elevation exposed section where the wind has been knocking me around like a pinball. The wind has actually knocked me off my feet probably a half dozen times. Real gusts of wind, no joke. But right now it happens to be subsiding. I'm in a long straight away, and I will be up to the shelter through the hardest part of this hike. And look over at the sun one more time. So I've enjoyed this exposed section of Tilly Jane Trail, but candidly I'm excited to get up to the tree canopy cover straight ahead, out of the windstorm, done with the 1900 foot elevation gain segment at Tilly Jane A-frame. Then I can go another 2.2 miles on the 200 foot elevation gain, so pretty flat, over to Cloud Cap Inn. And as long as the trail is clear from me and my YakTrax, I will do that. And then I'll assess if it's possible to go up Timberline Trail to Cooper Spur Shelter, or if that is too thick for YakTrax. As we look back on mighty Tilly Jane Trail, the mountain hike we just bagged. What is that, my friend? Why, yes, that is Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. Straight ahead, my friend. Iceberg dead ahead. We have completed our 2.5 mile segment in our YakTrax summit. This winter adventuring wonderland, Mount Hood National Forest, up to the A-frame log cabin known as Tilly Jane. This, my friend, is gorgeous. So this is $20 a night per person. I believe a minimum of 2 people, so $40 for 2 people for the Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. They have a lot of spots, a lot of places you can sleep at the shelter. And there's also the Tilly Jane guard station, which is more of a rustic cabin you can rent for $200 a night, big group situation. So here we are, the Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. Look at all that firewood there on the left, that's cool. Love the little Romeo and Juliet porch here in the front. And here is our shelter. Very beautiful, very legit. Let me pan back here, you can see the top of the A-frame. Oh man, this is gorgeous. This is rustic. This is awesome. Let's continue along. See what we see over here. Here's the side of our shelter. See what this sign says. We got this sign here. It says Tilly Jane A-frame. I'm standing outside Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter here in Mount Hood National Forest, Oregon. I personally think this is one of the most premium winter adventuring hikes in the entire Mount Hood National Forest area. It's 5 miles, 1,900 foot elevation gain round trip. We're to come up here and see this world-class destination, the rustic, hardy Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. This, my friend, with the sun peeking over the old growth Mount Hood National Forest trees, is absolutely beautiful. One of the best winter adventure hikes in all of Oregon. Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. So we just descended from the Tilly Jane Trail. There is our Tilly Jane A-frame sign. And I'd like to welcome you to the beautiful Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter, rustic and hardy. Let's walk in. So I've already opened the gate here, and I've also opened the door. If you're the last one to leave, make sure you lock both these. There happened to be nobody here, so I thought I'd give you a quick little tour. Very beautiful on the inside. Step in, and you got a couple picnic tables, a couple benches around this little hearth. Benches all the way around. Do have some supplies. I would say contribute, but don't ever take anything, obviously. Has a communal feel. I mean, look, people have left Alpine apple cider, which happens to be my favorite. Next time I hike up here, I'll bring an extra box and add to the stockpile. Oh man, this is beautiful. That side is permanently locked, so you don't go out there. And look at this, you got the stairs up to presumably the sleeping area. Oh man, this is really beautiful. It's neat to see the inside. I never actually seen the inside of Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. So here is the upstairs part of Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. Assumably this is the sleeping area. You bring your sleeping bag up here with a pillow, pick a little corner, sleep up here. A lot of good flat space. Got a room with a view. You got a window view out there of Mount Hood National Forest and a bench. And to get up here, just gotta walk up these stairs. Not too hard, pretty safe. Just grab the railing and come up here and sleep at Chili Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. This is beautiful. So here is your stairs up to your sleeping area. Just make sure you hold onto the railings. It's pretty darn safe. Now we'll walk around here. You got one rustic picnic table, two rustic picnic tables, a bench right there, 3 benches around the stove, another bench on the other side. Definitely a communal environment, room for a lot of people. And I gotta say, $20 a night's a pretty darn good deal. Can I interest you in a winter wonderland? Oh man, this is cool. I'm standing outside Chili Jane A-frame log cabin shelter here in Mount Hood National Forest, Oregon. Look how thick this snow is. You got a little picnic area, outdoor area. Snow is practically to the top of the picnic table. It is January 30, 2026. And look at this awesome, hardy, rustic Chili Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. My humble opinion, this Chili Jane trail up to this rustic log cabin shelter is one of the best winter adventure hikes in the entire state of Oregon. It's 5 miles, 1,900 foot elevation gain, and you get to come up here, hang out, enjoy the beauty that is Chili Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. This, my friend, epic. As we leave the Chili Jane A-frame log cabin shelter area, let's continue along this way. So now we need to assess if the trail is clear to go to Cloud Cap Inn. If we just stopped at Chili Jane and turn around, it'd be 5 miles, 1,900 foot elevation gain. If we extend it to Cloud Cap Inn, it's 7.2 miles, so we add 2.2 miles, but we only add 200 feet elevation gain. It goes from 1,900 feet to 2,100 feet. So 2.2 miles, but only 200 feet elevation gain. That's a pretty flat hike. So now the only question is this connecting segment to Cloud Cap Saddle Campground and ultimately Cloud Cap Inn, is this obstructed with snow, or is it clear for a YakTraxer like myself? If it's clear, I'm gonna go to Cloud Cap Inn, might as well capture that as well. If it's, you know, massive thick snowbanks, then I will reach the end of the line, have to turn around, have no choice. To the right is Chili Jane Creek, which we will cross. Here it says Chili Jane Area and Campground. Very beautiful zone. Bit of a steep cliff there. I wouldn't get too close personally, especially with YakTrax on. So I'm just gonna stay over here. Better safe than sorry. Chili Jane area contains incredible terrain, beautiful views, and several historic buildings. Chili Jane Creek was named after the wife of Wesley Ladd, and the name has been extended to the campground and general area. Very sweet. So this is our direction. There's a little amphitheater here on the left. And then we will see if we can make it all the way over to Cloud Cap Inn or not. Ooh, look at Mount Hood straight ahead. I'm gonna bury the lead. I mean, we have a bit of overcast, so it blends in with the white sky, but still, that is mountain straight ahead, my friend. That is beautiful. We've got a little amphitheater here on the left. Very cool. The rumors are that sometimes squirrels will have Shakespearean plays here when the humans aren't around, but it's not something we ever get to be part of. And we will check out this little zone. Amphitheater, awesome. I gotta say, I love it when they have these little infrastructure treats. Like, look at this. This is cool. Obviously, half of it's covered in snow, but you can see this half. Very beautiful. So here's a sign that says American Legion Camp. There's a beautiful sun. Now that's a sight. Look at that sun lighting up beautiful Mount Hood National Forest. So far, not so bad. We are now hiking by Tilly Jane Creek. Very beautiful, very picturesque, very pristine, serene, clean, pristine Tilly Jane. Doesn't rhyme, but it's still beautiful. Look at that. That is cool. Look at that pristine water. Care for a dip? Care for an ice cold dip? Probably not. But it's still very beautiful. It's like ice water. Same thing I have running through my veins. Here's a little bridge, snow on it. You can walk across it. Very cool. Here's our beautiful little Tilly Jane Creek. That is cool. I love that. It's beautiful. Very pristine little creek, my friend. Here's our snow crossing. And we did it, as if it was in doubt. Look back down at Tilly Jane Creek and all its raging goodness. Look up at Tilly Jane Creek. Beautiful, epic, awesome, clean, pristine, serene Tilly Jane Creek. There's the bridge we just crossed. Let's continue on this way. So it's essentially 1.1 miles this way and only about 200 foot elevation gain. So why not, right? Go get the full Monty experience. We go 1.1 miles this way, 200 feet elevation gain. We're at Cloud Cap Inn. We'll go by Cloud Cap Saddle Campground, then Cloud Cap Inn, 1.1 miles back. And it will have been a 7.2 mile, 2,100 foot elevation gain hike. I will still look at Timberline Trail and consider the Cooper Spur scenario, but I'm concerned about the weather at this point. I'm worried the worm is turning and I don't want to get myself in a situation. See what these signs say. Tilly Jane Trail, Timberline Trail. Here's our Tilly Jane guard station. So if you go at recreation.gov, $200, you can rent the Tilly Jane guard station, like your own private cabin group experience. Very cool. This is a beautiful area. I could see that being fun. I could see that being real fun, actually. You get a group of people together. Y'all come up here, YakTrax or Snowshoe, whatever. You take over this area and have yourself a party. So you got a lot of infrastructure here. Granted, it's snow covered. Probably not very convenient to try to have your lunch there at the picnic table, but actually it can be kind of fun when it's this thick of snow. And we will continue along this way. So there is your Tilly Jane guard station, $200 a night. Perfect for a group situation. Get a big group together, divide the cost among several people. Kind of a fun way to come enjoy Mount Hood National Forest. I'd highly recommend it. If you can get a big group together, divide the cost, then that is actually a really good value proposition, in my humble opinion. And we continue along this way. Thank you, Blue Diamonds, for charting the way. I can see the foot traffic and I can see the Blue Diamonds. between the two. I know which way to go. Trail number 600A for your spreadsheet tracker. Continue up this way. Okay, so very cool. You see those brown signs down there. That is Tilly Jane Campground. First come, first served summer style campground. I believe there's about 14 sites. Come up here in summer, and this is a premium camping zone. Gateway to Timberline Loop, Cooper Spur Shelter area. And not really a place you can camp during winter, but kind of cool, right next to the Tilly Jane Guard Station. So we are traversing the section of Tilly Jane Guard Station to the Cloud Cap Saddle Campground, and then ultimately will take us to the Cloud Cap Inn, and we'll get some money shots, hopefully, of the area. I will assess Timberline, decide if I want to go up to Cooper Spur. My instincts are telling me, based on time management and the weather, that that's probably a bad idea, that I should probably just do the medium version. I framed this at the beginning, short, medium, and long. I think medium might have been the way to go. So thinking I'm gonna get to Cloud Cap Saddle Campground in a couple tents here, and then go to Cloud Cap Inn. That'll make it a 7.2 mile, 2,100 foot elevation gain hike. Very hardy winter adventuring hike. Happy with that. Turn around, try to get out in front of the rain that I know is coming. Look at these gray clouds. Gray clouds are forecasting rain in the coming hours, my friend. So probably not going to even try to do the Timberline section. I would love to. It was a blue sky day. I have the energy in the tank as far as my physical capability, but the prudent, cautious winter adventure in me is telling me that it's probably a bad idea. It's pushing my luck. So we'll go to Cloud Cap Inn and call it. Man, this is beautiful. I'm like the only one up here. I went to Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter, got to tour it, did both narrated and silent. I was the only one there. Walking through this section, I'm the only one here. Hey, look, my friends, what do I spy over there? That is the Cloud Cap Inn across the way. See that perched on the other side of this burnout zone. So we got the Cloud Cap Inn over there. So this right here is one of the sketchier little sections. This is connector over to Cloud Cap Saddle Campground. It's steep and narrow. Just gonna film for a second. I'm gonna put my phone away because I gotta focus on my fancy footwork, not be jabbering and trip. But this is one of the tougher sections. It's doable. You can see the trail goes to the left there. I think it goes over that log over there. I don't know where it goes, but it's going to connect over there and then ultimately down over there. Got a particularly beautiful little forest section here. Here's another little section of Tilly Jane Creek, I do believe. And look at that. We will cross it right here. Assuming there's a log or something that I'm walking over. I can't see, it's too thick of snow, but obviously looks safe. So we just crossed right there and walk back over here a couple steps, just give you this money shot of the forest. That is beautiful. So this is the way we're hiking. We're getting close to Cloud Cap Saddle Campground, and then we will get over to Cloud Cap Inn. I saw Cloud Cap Inn from the ridge behind me, across this burnout chasm. So we're getting close. We've made visual contact. Well, it is not a fever dream hallucination. It is not a mirage. We are a couple tenths away. So we will ascend up this little section. I feel like Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter is definitely one of the main draws, especially with it being open. You can walk in and sit and have a snack and chill and enjoy a rustic log cabin shelter. But if you've already gone that far, you've done the lion's share of the elevation gain, why not add a couple miles, come over to the Cloud Cap Inn? That's my logic. I'm a stacker, a bow goer. Kind of random, you see a little rainbow there off in the mist. Call that rainbow in the mist. Very beautiful. The weather is turning. It is raining and overcast and foggy, and it's kind of a rain-sleet mix. And there's a random rainbow in the middle of the burnout here in Mount Hood National Forest. Very beautiful. So we are, I believe, in the final approach. We are deep in the old growth Mount Hood National Forest winter adventuring, wilderness trail winter adventuring. We are in the zone between the Tilly Jane Guard Station and the Cloud Cap Saddle Campground. It is intermittently raining, getting a mist, some random fog, some random rainbows across the forest. Kind of an interesting eclectic mix. And I love these mossy tree sections, definitely set a vibe. And a little downhill right here. A lot of little downhill sections, you just gotta watch your footwork. Again, I'm in the YakTrax summit, they work, but you just gotta be mindful. Don't do anything crazy. I gotta say, look at these mossy trees. This is gorgeous. This is quintessential old growth Mount Hood National Forest. I mean, this is ridiculous. Talking about setting a vibe. I mean, I could do a 360. Look at this. Look up here. This is magic, my friend. This is quintessential Mount Hood National Forest. If you wanted to know what Mount Hood National Forest is like, think of this green mossy tree section and you understand. Got a very ethereal vibe, my friend. Well, I do feel after some weird ups and downs, inclines and declines, that I am finally in that final approach to Cloud Cap Saddle Campground. I don't really feel like we're gonna be able to like see any of the sites in like a campground review sense. I'll have to come back in the summer to really do a proper campground review, but we'll get by that and then go on to Cloud Cap Inn, my friend. Ooh, I love these feature trees of interest. Look at that. That is beautiful, my friend. It's a post hole. Yep. This area is starting to look familiar to me. I have been here once before. Straight ahead, Cloud Cap Saddle Campground. I'm eager to get to Cloud Cap Inn, get a few money shots of our friend Hood, and turn around. The rain is increasing, the wind is increasing, the conditions are getting worse. I'm right in that no man's land where it's like I'm just a couple tenths away from my turnaround point, so I'd like to check the box. I also don't want to linger out here for hours unnecessarily, you know. So yeah, straight ahead, that is the restroom for Cloud Cap Saddle Campground. You see straight ahead, that is a picnic table, the other side of the road. So we are in the Cloud Cap Saddle Campground zone. We're right next to Cloud Cap Inn. Weird that the road doesn't have any snow on it. Must be some sort of material, because it doesn't make any sense, but I'm digging it. So this is interesting and wild. I'm up here at Cloud Cap Saddle Campground, and I don't know why. It must be some sort of tech, as it's starting to snow on me. The wind has hit me hard. It's actually a little painful. For some reason, this road doesn't have any snow on it. You see, here's Cloud Cap Saddle Campground. There's the restroom. Here's Cloud Cap Saddle Campground. You can see picnic table. This is not a campground review. It is snowing, my friend. It is beautiful. It is epic. It is a winter wonderland. Look at the moss on those trees. You see the sign straight ahead there. That is the Timberline Loop if you're going to Cooper Spur Shelter. But the thing I'm trying to understand, why is there no snow on the road? It's cool. Maybe it's some sort of new finagling technology. But starting to snow. There's site 5 with your picnic table. This is not a winter snow destination. I'm going to continue to hike this way. I'm walking over to Cloud Cap Inn, turnaround point for our 7.2 mile, 2,100 foot elevation gain hike from Tilly Jane Sno-Park, Tilly Jane Trail to Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter to Tilly Jane Guard Station to Cloud Cap Saddle Campground to Cloud Cap Inn, which we are mere feet away from. and then I will turn around. In fact, speak of the devil, Cloud Cap Inn, coming up to it on our left here. Here is the beautiful Cloud Cap Inn in winter snow. We pan over and show you this beautiful Mount Hood National Forest. If you ever wanted to see what Cloud Cap Inn looks like in winter snow, here you go. This is the beautiful Cloud Cap Inn, and we give you a panorama of Mount Hood National Forest. The warm is turning, my friends. The storm is moving in. It's getting cloudy, misty, snowy, rainy. You can see condensation coming down. I still have 3.6 miles to go back down to Tilly Jane Sno-Park. I will be hiking in the sleet, the snow, the rain, in my YakTrax summit, all the way down. But feel well equipped, well appointed. I got food, I got drink, I got battery. I'm ready to go. This is my turnaround point, and I will be descending back down to Tilly Jane Sno-Park. This, my friend, beautiful time to turn around. As we leave the Cloud Cap Inn area, the ethereal fog has moved in, my friend. I'm approaching the Cloud Cap Saddle Campground. I will hike back over to Tilly Jane Guard Station, Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter, and descend back down to Tilly Jane Sno-Park, hop in my Jeep Wagoneer, and drive home. So 7.2 mile, 2,100 foot elevation gain hike. I've officially turned around. I'm now on the way back down. So I've done the 2,100 foot elevation. That was the asterisk in this hike, the hardest part. So this is definitely what they call a 2/3, 1/3 hike, meaning 2/3 of the time is the way up, 1/3 of the time is the way back down. I'm definitely over halfway by time, even though I'm halfway by distance, just because downhill is by nature faster than uphill. So right now I'm optimistic that the changing conditions is just going to make it prettier but not more dangerous. I still have my YakTrax summit on, and the trail was clear on the way up, so I don't know what would be so different on the way down. Even if it got a little rainier and icier, I should be okay. So still optimistic, but we'll see. Hopefully not foolhardy. Time to tell. Again, going by Cloud Cap Saddle Campground. I did finally acquiesce and put up my hood. This is beautiful. Cloud Cap Saddle. Does anybody know why this road is completely clear? It must be something about this rock or material, like, doesn't get cold. I don't know, man. It doesn't make sense to me. It's cool though. So we've officially made it to the threshold of Mount Hood Wilderness, Cloud Cap Saddle. Going beyond this marker is the threshold into beautiful Mount Hood Wilderness. We will not be going up to Cooper Spur Shelter today. We went to Cloud Cap Inn as our turnaround point, 7.2 mile, 2,100 foot elevation gain. Weather is turning, it is storming, it is raining, it is snowing, it is misting, and I'm going to go back to Tilly Jane. One last look back at the Cloud Cap Saddle campground zone. Still don't understand why that road has no snow on it, but it's very cool. Tilly Jane. Trail number 600A. For those of you keeping track at home, update your spreadsheet, your tracker. And I like how they have the number system. It never means anything to me, but I'm sure it's very interesting. Look at these mossy trees. Like, yeah, the snow's cool, but look at all that moss. Beautiful. So we are back on the Tilly Jane Trail, and we will be taking this circuitous path over a couple Tilly Jane Creek crossings back to the Tilly Jane Guard Station, Tilly Jane Campground, ultimately Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. Then we will be descending the mountain back to Tilly Jane Sno-Park. So we did the out, we did the 2,100 foot elevation gain. Now we're doing the back. We're 3.6 miles away from our warm vehicle, but that doesn't mean that we're already over the hike. We're still enjoying the beauty, so hoping to get some good shots on the way back. It's a 2/3, 1/3 hike, which means it takes about 2/3 to get where I've got to so far, and about 1/3 of the time to get back, because going downhill is always faster than going back uphill. So time to descend to a winter storm. here's the direction we just came from. Beautiful Mount Hood National Forest. Loving these mossy trees. A lot of wind in the background. We are currently on the approach back to Tilly Jane Guard Station and Tilly Jane Campground. First come, first served 14 campsite summer camping destination. So I would definitely say if you're gonna bother doing this as a winter adventure, come all the way up to Tilly Jane A-frame, you might as well add this extra 2.2 mile, 200 foot elevation gain segment over to Cloud Cap Inn. Why not? Glad I did so. Now I'm heading back from this segment. Be back to Tilly Jane Land, Tilly Jane A-frame shelter shortly. And then descend the mountainside, the Burnout Zone, which is really the heart and soul of this hike. Definitely thick snow. Still don't regret using my YakTrax Summit. I think as far as energy management was worth it. Some occasional post-holing was worth the ability to go a longer distance with less exertion. So I think YakTrax or micro spikes are the winner chicken dinner of this hike. Very doable. Little signage here on the street to our right, and around the corner here to the right will be the Tilly Jane Guard stations shortly. So we are back to the Tilly Jane campground area. You can see the brown signs over there. I don't know if the snow got thicker or if I got tireder or if the rain and snow that's come down the last hours changed the dynamic, but I'm definitely post-holing quite a bit more. When you go downhill on snow, you're more likely to post-hole, so slide, slide, slippery slide, my friend. Blue diamond right here. To the right, we are at Tilly Jane Guard Station. Right there. Building to our right. We made it back to Tilly Jane Guard Station. It's a good sign. Let's keep going. There's our Tilly Jane Guard Station. There's our trail. We're going to meander around a little Tilly Jane Creek crossing, hit the amphitheater, and then straight away back to Tilly Jane A-frame, more cabin shelter. This isn't sketch, but I would stay away from the edge here. Certainly don't want to fall. Fortunately, I have my YakTrax Summit on, so I have full confidence in the fanciness of my footwork. Oh, I love Tilly Jane Creek. So pristine, serene, clean, immaculate. Dig it. Our little footbridge. Straight ahead. There's Tilly Jane Creek. Tilly Jane Creek footbridge. I would stay in the center of it. You see the rain sprinkling on Tilly Jane Creek. It is raining on me, has been for a while. Glad I have waterproof ski clothes on or I'd be in trouble. Happen to have a Bogner ski jacket, 20,000 K waterproof, 30,000 K breathable, 750 fill goose down. So got a premium ski jacket on, so I'm dry as a whistle on the inside. Got gloves, as I mentioned, nice pants. So I'm well dressed, not feeling the rain so far. Here's our amphitheater. The chipmunks had a performance going on, but they heard me coming and scattered. They're quite a Shakespearean troupe, the local chipmunks here at Tilly Jane. And we're coming up to more signage. This is trail number 600A, Amphitheater. Coming up to the Tilly Jane Campground sign on our right. Tilly Jane A-frame will be on our right as well here in a couple minutes. And so we'll be back onto the main Tilly Jane trail. So we are approaching our close trusty friend Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter, currently empty. I can buy it on our way back down Tilly Jane Trail to Tilly Jane Sno-Park, where we launched our base camp, where our Jeep wagon here is, where warmth is, where heated seats, and reinforcements as far as drinks and snacks eagerly await us. Here's our Tilly Jane A-frame sign. I love Tilly Jane A-frame rustic log cabin shelter. Can't get enough of it. Absolutely beautiful, majestic, epic. Goodbye, Tilly Jane. We've enjoyed our visit. We've enjoyed our stay. I still love the Romeo and Juliet come hither balcony. Very cool. Remember, if you're the last one to lock the gate and the door, which I did, so I'm leaving with the area secure. For the record, I closed the door and I closed the gate, and it is a secure facility as I leave. Nobody there, and time to descend, my friend. So I will give you the good news, because I'm a good news kind of guy. Oh my gosh, look at that rainbow. That's impressive. Because of all the rain, we're getting like some world-class rainbows. Beautiful. So we got an epic rainbow, and I will give you the good news as we look at the rainbow. So 7.2 mile, 2,100 foot elevation gain hike. We did the 2,100 foot elevation. That's the asterisk. That's the hardest part of this whole hike. That's done. This is all downhill, literally, not figuratively. Oh man, this is beautiful. Can I interest you in an incredible rainbow? We're here at Tilly Jane Trail, Mount Hood National Forest, Oregon. We just left the Tilly Jane A-frame shelter. We're on our way back down, descending from which we came back down to Tilly Jane Sno-Park. And because of all this inclement weather, the rain, the mist, the ethereal fog, the windstorms, the rainbow right there is a yield of the rain. You got the prominent one on the left. You actually have the makings of the spectrum of one on the right of this big tree. This is beautiful, my friend. Got a rainbow beckoning us to come hither. Welcome us as we hike back down Tilly Jane Trail back to Tilly Jane Sno-Park. Let's continue along. So we ended up doing the medium length version of this hike, which was to Cloud Cap Inn as our turnaround point, 7.2 miles, 2,100 feet elevation gain. Now the good news is, and I'm a optimistic glass half full kind of guy, we've done the 2,100 foot elevation gain, which is the asterisk difficult part of this hike. That is absolutely what makes this hike most difficult, is the 2,100 feet elevation. We've done that all the way to Cloud Cap Inn, and we turned around, we've come back. So if you think about it, we did the 2.5 mile segment to Tilly Jane A-frame log cabin shelter. And then we did the 2.2 segment to Cloud Cap Inn and back to Tilly Jane log cabin shelter. So we've done 4.7 miles and we have 2.5 miles left. So we have a little over a third of the hike left and no elevation gain. So when you look at it that way, we're physically about almost two-thirds, that's a post hole. We're physically about 2/3 into the hike as far as distance. And we're like 95% done with the elevation gain. I'll give 5% just for the natural machinations of the forest trail. There's a few minor inclines, just part of the cost of doing business, hiking through a forest. It's not perfectly downhill, but that's pretty impressive. So we are definitely in mop-up mode. We're not taking our eyes off situational awareness. In fact, here's a pro tip for you. More people are likely to be injured going downhill because their legs get kind of rubbery. They lose their situational awareness. They're concentrating going uphill because it's harder. It's more physical exertion. And then they think they're just in mop-up mode going downhill, and as I said, their legs get rubbery, jello-y. They start thinking about what they're going to do next, and they stop paying attention. They lose track of their momentum, their inertia, and they turn an ankle. So on your way down, even though you don't have to have the same energy burn rate as you did going up, maintain your footwork, maintain your situational awareness, because you're actually in your most dangerous section as far as injury, rate of injury. So I'm descending down. Hey, look at this. So you have that side of the rainbow, and you have the full rainbow arch, and you even have that side of the rainbow. Nature's Croquet right here. I didn't bring my mallet or my ball, or I would hit it. Pretty cool. You got the full rainbow arch and both sides of the rainbow. Pretty darn epic. Let me stop here and show you. Look at that. Rainbow arch. Nature's Croquet. Very beautiful. BYO mallet. So we are descending through this winter wonderland that I was rambling about. Make sure you maintain your situational awareness. I'm actually always more afraid of losing momentum going downhill. For me, going downhill is actually harder than going uphill. I don't mind 4,000 feet elevation gain. When I'm going downhill and I feel like sometimes I'm losing my footing, especially if it's a gravel situation or whatever the mountain material happens to be, then that's actually when I feel like I'm most in danger of like slipping and falling. So I take going downhill very seriously. It's a heck of a lot easier than going uphill, but you still have to pay attention. That's all I'm trying to say. Here's the way we're descending from. Here's our beautiful Burnout Basin, Deteriorating area. As we continue along, it is raining, it is storming. We've had windstorms, we've had sleet, we've had snow, and now it's just sprinkling. Oh, this is beautiful. Let me stop and capture this rainbow again. Look at this. Pretty darn epic. You can see both sides. Do that one more time. I'm telling you, it's nature's croquet. If I had my mallet and my ball, I'd take a hit, but alas, I do not. One of the things I love about Tilly Jane Trail is being able to look down into this Burnout Basin. It's just beautiful. We still have the ethereal fog mist across the way that never burned off all day. It's now afternoon, and the ethereal fog mist never left this mountain zone. Kind of a special phenomenon. Normally the morning fog mist burns off later in the day, but not today, my friend. Not January 30th, 2026. It's just a foggy, misty, ethereal day, complete with beautiful rainbows where you can see both sides, defying physics. Could have sworn I always hear that you can never catch the other side of a rainbow. What a beautiful day, I gotta say. I would say do not be just a fair weather adventurer, a fair weather hiker. I know some people that, I'm not trying to throw shade, but they only go hiking when it's like a bluebird, blue sky day, and that's the only set of conditions they will even consider going on a hike. If there's any rain, if there's any snow, if there's any overcast, it's an automatic deal breaker. And different strokes, different folks, you do you, but I do not prescribe to that mentality, because frankly, I think a lot of the most beautiful hikes I've ever done have been in ethereal mist and fog and rain and snow, and hiked through a lot of storms. And I think it's, first of all, I think it's invigorating, it's exciting, it's good for the soul. Second of all, I think it's actually a lot of times more beautiful. There's something about the overcast light that makes everything in the foreground have higher contrast. which actually, in my opinion, makes it more beautiful. Sometimes you get what I call like a sun stain. Like if you got like bright sunshine and you try to shoot a video, there's just this light everywhere, and it actually a little off-putting in my opinion. I think it actually is less beautiful because you can't see anything because the sun's so glaringly bright. I actually don't like it. I'd much rather shoot a video in light like this. It's overcast with ethereal mist and fog, and you got good lighting. You can see every texture. I think it's actually far more beautiful than just like a blue sky, sun blaring down on you like a spotlight. That's not actually my favorite, to be honest with you. So maybe that's the Norwegian in me, lifelong Oregonian. And look at that. That's pretty legit, my friend. That is pretty legit. You got the rainbow. Got the rainbow in the mist. If I was trying to do a nature shot, I would call this the rainbow in the mist. The mist is actually moving so fast from left to right, you can see it. If I just stay here still in real time, you can see it moving from left to right towards the rainbow. I just descended a steep little section of Tilly Jane Trail. And we got this ethereal mist coming in. It's actually coming in heavier straight ahead. I don't know what this is. Mist, fog, soup. It's beautiful, but it's definitely moving into this Mount Hood National Forest Canyon Basin. I am a fan of a good ethereal misty fog, so I'm digging it. It just completely swallowed the rainbow. We had a beautiful rainbow right straight ahead. No more. The fog, the rainbow went to battle and the fog was victorious. Now we are getting strong gray vibes. Don't know if this is a harbinger for some bad weather coming. Right directly above me right now is some blue sky. I just looked up. So I'm in my final 2 miles descending down from whence I came to Tilly Jane Sno-Park. So I've got a Jeep Wagoneer that's got the load leveling suspension, 5 levels. So I'll probably go up to the highest level, off-road, 1 or 2. Put it into snow 4-wheel drive. Go down the couple miles of cloud cap road so I get to the main highway. Pull over, go back down to normal height of the vehicle. Go to normal 4-wheel drive, and then I will drive home. It's nice to have a vehicle that's got that capability, so I have full confidence. I'm sure the conditions are fine, but if there's one section that's sketchy on the drive home, it's going to be this few miles of cloud cap road back to the main highway. So that I'm more than up for the task with my vehicle. And then I will go home. You know what one of the best parts of a successful winter adventure is? 7.2 miles, 2,100 foot elevation gain. It's going home and having bottomless cups of warm apple cider. I like the Alpine. I actually saw some Alpine apple cider up at Tilly Jane A-Frame. Pretty cool. They had a box there, although they had the sugar type. I like the sugar-free type, so I probably wouldn't have had any at the Tilly Jane. I'm a sugar-free kind of guy, but got sugar-free at home, so I'm going to have bottomless apple cider all night. Get crazy, my sugar-free apple cider. That's what I call a party, my friend. Oh, look at this. Look at these clouds, this fog, this ethereal mist. Soupy magic. I am digging it. Don't know what the heck it is. You know, it's funny, if it was summer, I think there was a wildfire, but it's not summer and there's no wildfire. No, I guess it's just a ethereal, misty, cloudy fog. So I would say we finished the upper section of the exposed Burnout segment of Tilly Jane. So we got this Meandering Segment. We stop and just pan back. So we just came down from there. That's kind of the upper part of the Burnout Zone that is the final ascent to Village A-frame log cabin shelter. We're now kind of in the mid section, the flatter section, little respite because that was some pretty thick, gnarly snow in YakTrax summit. Still don't regret my footwear traction device control decision because I was able to go up to cloud cap in without much energy exertion, and 7.2 miles, 2100 foot elevation gain. So solid on the YakTrax, but you're always cheating in one way or the other. I was definitely cheating towards having to post hole a bit, unfortunately. So that thicker exposed section is officially over, and that was kind of my albatross, my Achilles heel, no pun intended, of the whole hike. So that's good. Probably don't have any more post holing in front of me as bad as what was just behind me after the worst post holing section. So now we're kind of in the mid burnout zone, Tilly Jane Trail. I call this the Sepia section on the way up, and it's not giving the Sepia vibes on the way down. It's kind of dark and dreary, but still beautiful. We are now in the bottom section of the burnout zone, Tilly Jane Trail, about to re-enter the lower forest section that takes us back to the trailhead. Still have this ethereal gray misty fog blanketing this canyon basin. I'm digging it. It's giving a beautiful vibe. I'm a sucker for a good ethereal, foggy, soupy mist, so to me it's only amping up the beauty. So my post-holing days are almost over. Once we get through this final section of the burnout, what I earlier called the angel singing section, this is the bottom zone of the burnout section back to the lower forest. That initial uphill slog that was the cost of doing business section from the trailhead up to this burnout zone. Once we get out of this little area, I'll be done post-holing. Should be very nice. And it'll just be lower forest with canopy. Not much snow, fair amount of ice. Back to our trailhead. I still can't get over this beautiful, like, thick fog. This mist is just blanketing this area. This is beautiful. It's like a soupy fog. Pretty unusual from sunrise to the next couple hours sunset. This entire day will have been non-stop fog in the area. The fog never lifted. It wasn't just a morning burn-off situation. It was just a day of fog in the mountains. So, very beautiful. I love this area. I will say this overcast gives like a different light, makes everything more vibrant and pop. All the green, all this brush, cat's tail, beautiful pine trees are more vibrant in the overcast. I feel like it is better lighting for really appreciating the contrast and the beauty of every blade of grass, every little bush and shrub and tree. So I actually prefer this lighting over the bright blue sunshine, bright blue sky sunshine, because that actually is a little blinding and you kind of miss a lot of the light, a lot of the contrast. As we officially leave the burnout section of Tilly Jane Trail here in Mount Hood National Forest, we got some ethereal, misty, foggy soup across the way. Very beautiful, sitting a vibe. And we are descending back down to what I had called the lower forest section, the trailhead to the burnout zone section. More canopy cover, so there's less snow, which means less post holing, which is good for a YakTraxer like myself. So I'm looking forward to getting out of the post-holy burnout section. That was definitely the worst section as far as post-holing goes, but still happy with my foot traction choice overall. For me to be able to do 7.2 miles and 2100 foot elevation gain with minimal effort, I really don't feel wrecked. I feel actually pretty good. That's the yield. It's amazing what you can find beauty in, like even just a section like this. This isn't a feature of the trail, but I just find this to be absolutely stunningly beautiful. The green of this brushery, all this cat's tail, the ice on the trail, and then the snow. This is really beautiful. Very vibrant pops of white and green. And straight ahead you can see kind of the demarcation line of re-entering the lower forest. Suddenly we're going to have dirt under our feet. That'll be nice for my YakTrax to clean off some of the mud and snow that is caked on and accumulated all the hours of hiking. So I definitely wasn't taking a speed mentality when I did this hike. 7.2 miles, 2,100 feet. It's going to end up being like 6 hours. Now, am I saying I was going for a record time? No, I mean, I shooting a video, which slows me down, and I stopped and lingered and really enjoyed each segment. So life's a journey, not a destination. Don't be trying to throw down a good time. Who cares if you did it quickly? The important part is to actually enjoy it. I'm not here to race, I'm here to have fun. So I'd rather do it slow and steady wins the race. I would say victories by using YakTrax. I'm really not wrecked. I mean, 7.2 miles, 2,100 foot elevation gains, a pretty legit winter adventuring hike, and I feel totally fine. Like, I don't even really feel tired, to be honest with you. I feel like I could start a hike right now. Like, that was not that arduous. And I chalked that up, so I walked through this muddy section, to the fact that I went slow. So I could honestly say in my hike, I never once got out of breath. I never redlined, as I call it. I never got behind my breath or got that fight or flight or got the cortisol or got, you know, like, oh, this is too hard. I never got any of that. I always went slow. Anytime I got a little tired, and I just slowed down and really stayed in front of my breath and never really got tired. Never really felt like I was at full exertion. And a big part of that I chalk up to deploying YakTrax, because YakTrax are basically like summer hiking, just a little bit more resistance from the snow/ice. So I don't know, man. I'm actually less wrecked than I was expecting. I don't feel too bad at all. I feel pretty good. So I've got another hike in me right now. Let's do it again. There's a wheel at the bottom, and if I spin it and hit the wrong thing, I could do the whole hike over again, but I think I'm up for it. As we continue to hike back down the final section of Deteriorating Trail. Particularly gorgeous little section here. Definitely need foot traction control for this. This is like total sheet of ice. If you were boot packing, you would not be able to physically do this. You'd go flying. But with my YakTrax Summit on, I'm like a puma/panther, gliding across effortlessly like a figure skater in the Olympics. Very simple. Oh, this is so beautiful. I will say this lower forest is looking more beautiful on the way down. This is hitting right. This is really gorgeous. We're in the final mop-up phase of our Deteriorating Trail adventure. Mount Hood National Forest is so beautiful. I never get tired of hiking through this area. This to me is the quintessential old growth forest. Granted, I'm biased. I'm born and raised in Oregon. So this is my frame of reference of what a old growth forest is. But that said, I've been around other states and seen a lot of forests, and there's just something about the mix, the species mix, the ecological footprint that is Mount Hood National Forest that is pretty darn special. So every time I have the pleasure of hiking through Mount Hood National Forest, I dig it, I enjoy it. It feels magical and special. I really think this Tilly Jane trail up to the A-frame log cabin shelter, guard station, Cloud Cap Inn, maybe even Cooper's Per Shelter, is one of the most premium hikes in the whole Mount Hood area as far as winter adventuring. I would put this one, which is Tilly Jane Trail, along with Tamanoas Falls, is really the two on the east side, the east quadrant of the Mount Hood National Forest area, Timberline Loop area. They're the two that kind of Wonderland zones, premium hikes. They go deep into the forest, so it gets the proper wilderness feel. It's not just like a little paved area where you're hanging out, you know, in a parking lot. You get the wilderness vibe, which I appreciate. So, say those two. I also think there's a good one from HRM parking lot to Clark Creek Bridge to Newton Creek as your turnaround point. It's a pretty short one, but you get two premium creeks, some bridges, and just a kind of a beautiful wonderland zone of the forest. So I'd say those are your three best hikes on the east side of Mount Hood National Forest. As far as winter adventuring goes, Tilly Jane, Tamanoas Falls, and Clark and Newton Creek from HRM parking lot. That's the way to do it, my friend, if you're on the east side. I think a lot of people in this area just focus too much, frankly, on the west side, you know, like Trillium and Clear Lake. And I'm not knocking those, they're very pretty, but they're not necessarily the best hikes in the Mount Hood area. Granted, it's a farther drive to go around the east side, but I think the juice is worth the squeeze. It's a much more rewarding, beautiful zone, in my humble opinion. So that is what I would recommend. What are my takeaways? I think YakTrax or Microspike's definitely a solid decision. I probably wouldn't do snowshoes. I can understand if you do snowshoes, so no shade. But if you do snowshoes, you'll definitely have a higher burn rate of your energy, but you'll have an easier time on the more exposed burnout zone. If you do YakTrax, you'll have a much lower burn rate on your energy, but you will post hole a little bit in the burnout section. So depending on which way you want to cheat on your exertion level or your post holing, I could see an argument for either way. I personally would pick YakTrax, but that's my preference. I would definitely wouldn't do skis under any such circumstances. I think that would be a mistake. Don't be fooled by the fact that it says ski trail. And I think if you're going to bother going up to Tilly Jane A-frame, which is well worth doing, it's a gorgeous A-frame rustic log cabin shelter. I would add Cloud Cap Inn. I think that's worth it. Adds 2.2 miles, but only 200 feet elevation gain. So, and then you get to go see Cloud Cap Saddle Campground. You get to see the Mount Hood Wilderness sign. You get to see, most importantly, Cloud Cap Inn. If it's a clear day, you actually can go up to the left of Cloud Cap Inn. There's some money shots of Mount Hood proper at the summit. I didn't do that today because it was such overcast you couldn't see the mountain, so it wasn't worth going up there. But if it was a clear blue sky day, you definitely want to go to the left of Cloud Cap Inn. There's a couple overlooks that are like majestic money shots, and Mount Hood would literally be the view of your entire hike. So definitely want to add that if you're going to go up to Cloud Cap Inn. Didn't get that today myself, but that's okay. I've already gotten it in the summer. So I would add that. I think the 7.2 mile, 2,100 feet elevation gain version is probably the sweet spot of this hike. I could see if this was a blue sky, bluebird day, and you didn't have what I had to deal with today, like the rain and the snow and the fog and the windstorm that knocked me down a few times and all this other stuff. And if you got here like right at sunrise and you had a blue sky day, optimal conditions, I think you could go to Cooper Spur Shelter as your turnaround, which would make it 9.8 mile, 3,000 foot elevation gain. That's a trek. I definitely would do YakTrax, not snowshoes, because that's a little far for snowshoes. But if you get optimal alignment where it's light snow, mostly ice like it is now, and bluebird, blue sky day, then I think Cooper Spur Shelter is within reach from Tilly Jane Sno-Park as a out and back day hike. So I know a lot of people will, and as a different version of that, they'll hike up and stay at Tilly Jane A-frame, $20 per person, minimum of 2 people, $40, or they'll just rent out the Tilly Jane guard station, which I think is $200 for a big group, and you split that amongst a bunch of people. It's actually pretty reasonable. So if you go stay up there, then day 2, like day 1 is just hiking up there and setting up camp, spending the evening. And then day 2, if you want to adventure, then you could easily hike up to Cooper Spur because you've already done the lion's share of the elevation gain in the previous evening. So that's a great base camp if you really want to go up and look at Cooper Spur Shelter. I wasn't able to go up to Cooper Spur Shelter today, but I think that was a wise decision based on the conditions. You got to let the trail conditions and the weather conditions dictate your plan. And today, given the extreme kind of stormy conditions, it didn't make sense to try to go up there. So those are my takeaways here at Tilly Jane Trail, Tilly Jane Sno-Park. So I'm just a few minutes away from the trailhead. That concludes my Tilly Jane hike.